Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reed's Reads Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Check us out at the SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Well, I'm here, guys, for a double review, believe it or not. I'm not only here for issue 69, aka 870 Amazing Spider-Man, part 3 of the Chameleon Conspiracy, but I'm also going to review the conclusion of King in Black and Venom 200 and give my little shots out here. So let's get right on over to Amazing Spider-Man here with the pros. First of all, I like how the story kind of picks up right after everything left off with Spider-Man in peril, and of course the fact that Jamie actually chooses to side with the bad guys, and then of course Peter is kind of caught up in a little area, and it's really nice how it moves the piece going, because as a result Peter realizes that something else has been going on with Jamie this whole time, and he realized he missed it because he was so busy with other parts of his life, and of course everything that happened with Kindred, it caused a lot of problems. I also like how we're getting a little bit more motivations of why the palace exists, and the little pieces from the finisher are really a nice little piece here as it kind of moves a little bit more what the Chameleon Conspiracy is about, because here we thought it was more about the Chameleon, when we find out it's actually a little bit more under the finisher's plans and jobs, as well as giving out the piece. And it was an interesting revelation that the Chameleon, why top student, former Russian agent, spy, supervillain, whatever, that of course he was the main primary student of the Finisher. It's a really cool little thing, especially when the backstab happens at the palace between Chance and of course the Foreigner, when of course the jack-o'-lanterns and all these several of the villains there start turning things up and actually start attacking them, because it's all on the Finisher's piece. And that he's been playing things a little bit more, as well as showing the various sleeper agents, and the interesting revelation that maybe Ned Leeds, this other Ned Leeds, is actually one of these sleeper agents. So it's a really cool conspiracy, kind of political thriller, kind of thing, kind of like what they were going for with Captain America and the Winter Soldier. But that kind of leads a little bit to the cons here. I feel like we've had the build-up for a while with the Chameleon, and now it's all being turned out the fact it's not really the Chameleon's plan, even though the storyline is called the Chameleon Conspiracy, that really the Finishers behind all this, and him being alive after what happened in the Amazing Annual issue 5, where his missile was blown up. He was severely on the brink of death, and of course Dimitri saved him, because basically saw him as a father figure, or as they say, the student who loves his teacher so much. So it was an interesting piece, but I think there's also some things that got thrown to the side here. I mean, everything with Jamie and the Clairvoyant, I mean, him taking the catalyst, I mean, there were security cameras, they're going to kind of see him. The fact that he's doing everything and what they're trying to do with the palace, the truth is Chance says, we'll make a super villain out of you yet, Jamie, but at the same time he never stops to say, like, whoa, what have I gotten myself into? I just wanted to help my mom because of her health and the fact that I have no father, and I have a little sister that raised, and I got to get to graduate school. It basically acts like, screw all that, whatever, I just got to do what the plot commands of me. And then, of course, everything with Ned Leeds. There's some parts where even Betty Brant's been throwing up kind of like, I don't see this as being a part. Well, Betty, when you're that much ready to burst from having a pregnancy, and of course the way Peter's, of course, acted a couple of times too, now Betty's going to question maybe that Ned is not on the up and up with her, because you know how that worked out so well during the Hobgoblin years. It's like, Betty, it's as much as they do progress with the various writers with Betty Brant, she always falls back into that, well, I didn't think of that, or, oh, it's all about me, so just worry about what I love and want. At some point, just like any other character, Betty Brant has to grow up, and we're kind of falling back into that case when we haven't seen her in a couple of years, and now she's front and center with this storyline, and she's back to being old Betty. So the rest of the story is really thing. I really enjoy the artwork in here too. Bruce and Fiera actually do some pretty good, minus some super thick eyebrows and a few other things, but it's actually pretty good action. The pace stays very well. And of course the backup with Electro back and alive was a big shocker, and actually I was really happy to see Electro back, because it is really Max Dillon, so you really wonder what's going on there. But it of course takes subplots that were done a couple years ago under Mark Waid about how Electro can transfix to an energy corporeal form, and Dr. Octopus, being a scientist and a physicist, person that works with that kind of science, bring Electro back. So it's kind of cool now. We got Doc Ock, we got Sandman, we have Electro, and we had the pieces together why the Lizard's going to be involved in the Sinister War, but there's still some pieces missing, and it seems it's kind of weird when that 3 pages are just more exciting than some of the other stuff that happened in the main story. So I'm going to give it a B. It actually is pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all wraps up next week in the double-sized Chameleon Conspiracy annual. But it gets a B for it, because there were some good things, but there's a lot of other like, oh, really? Come on. On that note, guys, let's get to the big talk here with Venom 200 and the conclusion to the King in Black storyline. So I'll talk about the King in Black first, the pros. The storyline actually had a nice conclusion. One thing Don Cates and Ryan Segman did with all the other writers is really set everything up with Eddie Brock, Null, everything with the symbionts, and really kind of gives it to a piece. But then, of course, they pull out kind of a Deus Machina, not with the cosmic, the Unipower, bringing Eddie Brock the life and giving the powers of Captain Universe and explaining how, you know, Mjolnir and the One Sword work. That's been established for years, and Donny Cates, being the Thor writer, has also established that, you know, and as previous writers such as Matt Fraction and even Dan Jurgens, that Mjolnir could actually merge with other things to those deemed worthy, and the Unipower, of course, can make a person worthy when they might not be, like Eddie Brock. So that isn't, I think the problem is once you get in all that, and even though it's been a building story with the hive mind and the symbionts and everything, that was just one strategy after another that broke Null down. But then, of course, Eddie Brock kind of just goes to town, destroys Null, and then, of course, Dylan removes Dylan, which, of course, ages him a couple more years to remove all the threat of Null, and now he's, you know, the new King in Black. He's in charge of the symbionts. It's pretty cool, but like I said, the con is, it's kind of felt like in those last two issues, it was like, here we go. We did all this background, we did everything. Some of these tie-ins really didn't have anything to do with anything, but they were cool tie-ins, everybody. And now the storyline is over, Null is defeated, and now the symbionts are the big, you know, hate group. You know, they have the jury, they have the guardsmen hunting down all the different symbionts, such as Phage and the new Lasher and Toxin, because now, you know, everybody hates symbionts to death, because unless they are Venom Eddie Brock, or of course they are, of course, Flash Thompson, which has been brought back as anti-Venom, they want them down. But as we found out also in the backup issue, that of course in Venom 200 is even Flash Thompson being alive is actually, he's on the target list now for things. So it's kind of interesting how we're having that big shift, but it's not too crazy considering what just happened in the main storyline. But some of the other things are done too. I mean, now that Eddie Brock's kind of now the King in Black, and he's now aged because of being a hive mind and with everything with all the different symbionts and trying to undo everything from Null over the centuries, is kind of a cool story. And actually, one of the best things is actually his conversation with Peter Parker in issue 200 here, where he kind of, it's like, you know, Peter, stop thinking it's your fault, the reason this all happened with the symbiont. They were here before. This just kind of tipped scales over. The truth is, it's been building for a long time, and it was going to happen one way or another. And he kind of like frees Peter of that kind of guilt, which is a nice little stepping stone, because in a way it's also kind of heals the rift between Peter and Eddie and Venom and Spider-Man, or I should say the former Venom. So it's actually nice little character pieces. I also like some of the other ones. They also bring in the Maker subplot that's been kind of out there for the last couple years in Venom, that it's going to be kind of resolved in a possible future storyline, because, you know, money grab, everybody. But it's kind of interesting that Dylan Brock has now been basically put in Peter's role with the symbiote, is now the new Venom with chains, because I read a lot of comics from the 90s and everybody had chains. True. Not going to do there, but it's kind of interesting. So it's going to be interesting to have kind of like this reverse role of what Peter was like when he was in high school as Spider-Man, and now you've got everything else with Dylan Brock being the new Venom, considering his origins as a new one, and the fact that Eddie's going to help him. So it's going to be very interesting to it. But the King in Black storyline, I'll give a solid B to. It had a nice conclusion. A lot of the tie-ins made sense, and others were just cash grabs. And for Venom 200, I'm actually going to give it a B+. Stegman and Cates really do wrap up things really nice with their run from the last couple years. They really get everything set up for the Extreme Carnage, as well as what will be happening probably with the new Venom series later this year. We'll find out more in the free comic book day in August. So I will definitely give props to the team. They really made Venom amazing again, and they did a really good job getting everything wrapped up, even though there were some things that were a little weird, and we had another Carnage and Symbiont storyline. But they really gave Eddie Brock, they actually made him develop him, leave him off on a really well note where he's there, but he's not really Venom anymore. And Dylan's now taking over him. Flash Thompson's back, and he's now got a world that completely hates symbionts, and they're being hunting down. And you know some of these symbionts are good people. And unfortunately, they're being hunted down. And of course, Carnage is back for reasons, and he started his own church. So it's going to be very interesting how this all goes in the future. So I'll definitely give it a B+ for issue 200. I think it was really nice, and for everything caught up. And for somebody who owned the original Venom, was a big fan of the character, I really like how this wraps up this current series. So kudos to everybody that was involved in Venom the last couple years for getting this all finished. I think you did a great job. So Cates, Stegman, everybody else involved with it, nicely done. So good job there. So there you go, everybody. A B for, of course, Amazing Spider-Man 69, and of course a B for King in Black, and of course a B plus for Venom 200. So nice job to everybody involved. And on that note, guys, I'm out of here. I will see everybody later next week for, of course, the conclusion to the Chameleon Conspiracy. Also, check us recently on the podcast for our thoughts of Ben Reilly taking over as Spider-Man again here with the upcoming Spider-Man Beyond this October. And, of course, for more information, guys, check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com and look up our social medias and check us out in Discord. We'd love to hear from you. And on that note, everybody, me and my amazing friends are out of here once again. See you later on the Crawl Space.